Hello friends, John here. I wanted to do a rant on Rings of Power. Now some of you may already know that I did a review on it earlier. If you watched that one, I'm not going to do any props with jokes. I'm just going to give a rant on a few of my thoughts and feelings about the show. Those of you that didn't watch it, if you like the show, this is just my opinion and my analysis that how I feel. If you liked it, I'm not attacking you. But those of you who watched it know I didn't like it. I'm of the opinion now on thinking about it that the makers of the show look down upon Tolkien's work. And just like a rock that looks down, it'll sink. So in this case, the work quality sunk to the bottom. Whereas if a ship looks up, it floats. And just like Peter Jackson looked up to Tolkien's work, he admired it. And the quality of that work soared, floated to the top, it soared. I have those films here and I've watched them over and over again, right here. And then when they had the extension versions, I bought that too. I enjoyed it so much. I can watch them over and over, even parts. If they're on TV, I can watch a little section. Oh, I love this part and watch it. The Rings of Power, I don't want to watch that anymore. I don't even care how they're going to end it. I don't want to even watch any more seasons, let alone rewatch it. Now, just as an aside, the Hobbit films, I think the makers of that film, they weren't looking down or up. They were looking at the dollar signs, the green. They were trying to milk the fame of the original Peter Jackson trilogy. And like, well, how can we get every dollar? We're going to take the audience and shake out what coins they have in their pocket. We want every last dime. They didn't care about the artistic quality or ever. The Hobbit's a little book like this. I don't think you can make one movie out of it, let alone three. Now, back to the Rings of Power. The author said, we're going to make, not the authors, the makers of the film said, we're going to make a film that Tolkien didn't write. Now, why are you making a story that he didn't write? Why don't you use the story that he did write? And one of the things that confused me way back before the show aired, one of the first things I heard, they spent $250 million for the rights to the film. It's like, at the time I heard it, like $250 million just for the rights? What in the world? And then I heard, well, if this is the extent of Tolkien's work, the things they got the rights to was this. And I'm like, that's all they got? This much for $250 million? They didn't get more? I think they could have gone to any used car lot across the country, just picked out at random some used car salesperson, and they could have got a better deal. I don't know who they made their deal for them, but the used car salesman probably could have got, this much for half the price and probably sold Tolkien's estate a few used cars in the deal. Like, what were they thinking? Now it gets even worse. You find out the stuff they do have. Well, we like this character. We're going to use her, but we're going to change it. We don't like her personality. And we don't like all the stuff she did. We want to give her some extra stuff. Like, well, okay. And then we're going to change this lore here of this stuff. Okay. Well, what are you going to use? Well, you see this story here? You're going to use that? No. You see this one over here? No. You see there's a gap in between there. Okay. We're going to take that gap and put it out. And take this gap here and put it out. You're making your story of gaps? Well, yeah, we can make up stuff in the gaps. We're allowed to do that. Like, why don't you just make your own story and save yourself $250 million? Now, Tolkien, he didn't make up, if you wanted, absolutely had to have a fantasy with elves and dwarves and people and magicians, sorcerers, magicians. He didn't invent those. Tolkien didn't invent those. Those existed in legends and fables. And you could make your own story and put those kind of things. Since I've seen movies and books and video games that have all those kind of characters, and they're not paying Tolkien. They made their own stories and their own lands and things of that nature. Like, why didn't you just write your own story? It boggles my mind. And then, if you want to take out the character, you take out Gladriel, but you change her all around. Well, just use a different name, because you're not taking her characteristics or story anyway. Just change her name. And make it, she's got like a single name, Gladriel. Like, make it a triple name, like sound more regal, like Karen Mary Sue. There you go. It fits the character of the story more than Gladriel does. That name's perfect. But I don't know about that. So then what gets me is people complain. Like, I love Tolkien, and look, you've changed everything. And then they start calling them names like for objecting to it. It's like a bait and switch. It's like, I'll make an analogy. If there's a famous pizza thing on a chain on one coast of the country, and they have their own special cheese, they have a special formula, they make this cheese. Everybody loves it. People try to duplicate it, they can't. They don't know how it's made. They try, but they can't make it. People from the other side of the country, when they go on vacation, they love it. Some of them, their friends, they make a vacation just to try it. And now somebody on the other coast has bought a franchise. And it's the same name. We're going to open up the pizza shop. And everybody flocks to it. Oh, I love that pizza. That cheese is delicious. I've got to have it. And you go there and you get it. And it's, hey, there's no cheese on this pizza. And the owners of the shop say, well, we decided that's old-fashioned, but we've got a lot of diversity of toppings. We've got twice as many, 3 times, 4 times as many kinds of toppings. They don't have that over there, and that's a lot better. Like, but I came for the cheese. And, oh, you horrible person. You hate ethnic food. What's wrong with you? You're despicable. You should be in jail. You should be locked up. You're a horrible, evil person. But I love cheese. You shouldn't have used the name. You should open your own pizza shop. Don't use the name that implies it's got the delicious cheese on it. If you advertised multiple toppings, maybe you get people to come for that and would like it. But they're coming for the cheese. Do you understand? I don't know. Then I hear like, well, why are they doing this? Why did they make it? If they don't want money, and they don't do it for artistic love of the product. Some people say they're doing it for agenda, or they have a message they want to push. Well, how are you pushing the message if you're getting people angry? You bait and switch them and they come over all excited, and then they're, wait a minute, I love this character over in the book, and I love this story, and now it's all different. And then you start calling them names. They're not going to get your message, even if you put the message in there really well written. They're not going to listen to the story. They're going to be angry and not even listen to it. Plus, you don't need to hit people over the head with a message. You got to be subtle. Don't put Mary Sue's in there. Don't have somebody perfect at everything they do. Have them some trauma and some significant setbacks. And then that'll make your message a little bit better, maybe. Anyway, I don't understand it. I think I'm a logical person, but if somebody could explain why they spent the $250 million, if you take that $250 million plus whatever they spent to make this show, you could have made 2, maybe even 3 separate series. Especially if you did ones that weren't CGI and needed like period pieces or something. You just did like a Wire or Sopranos or something that was in modern day. You might have got 3 different, completely different series, and one of them might have hit. You could have, even if you wanted a fantasy, like I said, first of all, hire good writers. And then you need a good casting person. Those 2 things are critical. You have to start out with a good story first. If you want to work your agenda in, start with the story and start working it in logically. You don't take a work that's known, throw out everything in just to attract people with the name of it, and then stick your agenda in as the top thing without the story. It's not going to interest people, and they're not going to listen to your message. But anyway, get a casting director. You can get some not completely unknown, but see people that have experience that aren't the top rated stars that are in demand and command high prices. Get somebody that you can recognize as a good talent. There was a movie, The Outsiders, and they had a good casting director, had a whole bunch of young actors that went on to become famous. The movie Animal House was made very cheaply at the time with people that had been around, but they weren't well known. And they made them, the people that made the movie made them, you gotta have one name, and they hired Donald Sutherland for a day just to have somebody people might recognize. And I don't know the money amounts, I may get this wrong, but they offered him like $20,000 plus 2% of the gross. And he said, no, I want cash on the barrelhead. So I think it was $35,000 or something without any points. And then it went on to make millions upon millions. If he'd taken the money, he would have got like $2-3 million or something instead of $35,000. But the point being is they hired a bunch of people that had experience but weren't well known. They had good writing, and the thing made a lot of money, and people still watch it and think it's a classic. But if you're careful, you can do that with a TV show, and they certainly didn't do it here anyway. So I wrote some songs here that maybe I had to write them down. I didn't memorize them because it took me all 30 seconds to write each song. So probably more time than they took to write one episode of this stuff. Anyway. We are the Harfoots. We love and look after our kind. We are the Harfoots. Rest in peace if you should fall behind. We are the Harfoots. Don't expect us to wait. We are the Harfoots. Stay behind. You'll make some good wolf bait. We are the Harfoots. Fall behind and you'll incur our wrath. We are the Harfoots. We'll hate you more if you should take a bath. There you go. 30 seconds for the Harfoots. They can use it. They have my permission to use it next season if they have another season. And the Harfoots can be singing and dancing while some poor wagon full with a mother with her 3 kids is broken down. And they're just partying. They can't be bothered to go back to help her because maybe the wolves will eat her and they might get some of her stuff. Maybe they can take the bones that are left over and cook them in a stew or something, a soup broth. And there you go. You can use this for free. Of course, I had to write something for Gladriel, the main one. Don't try to fight her. You really should be booking. She can beat ice trolls without even looking. She's Gladriel. She's Gladriel. Don't really think, but she knows how she feels. She's Gladriel. She's Gladriel. She don't really think, but she knows how she feels. She's always right. Everything she do, that's why they call her Mary Sue. Everybody, the chorus now. She's Gladriel. She's Gladriel. She don't really think, but she knows how she feels. She's Gladriel. She's Gladriel. She don't really think, but she knows how she feels. Criticize what she's wearing. You'll quickly find out that she's a Karen. Everybody, you know it by now. She's Gladriel. She's Gladriel. She don't really think, but she knows how she feels. She's Gladriel. She's Gladriel. She don't really think, but she knows how she feels. There you go. Now, obviously, she can't sing it, but you can get somebody to sing it for her. Okay, thanks for tuning in. Have any comments or thoughts? Put them down.